I don't know if you can hear that, the sounds of the waves hitting the shore. It's actually quite calming. I'm sure you can tell. Today we're at Amelia Island, Florida. More specifically, Fernandina Beach. It's a bit of a chilly day, but there are people out on the water in their boats. There's one there. And over there, see that little guy? Oh yeah, and it's also foggy. 1988, a movie came out called The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking, and I'm telling you what, everybody in the world seemed to love this movie. I've watched it, Jessica watched it, my sister watched it. If you grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, you've seen this movie. Today, we're checking out The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking filming locations. That house right there, that's Villa Cola.
Wherever I come, bad luck just comes my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
Okay, I think I got it figured out. Okay, bear with me because I've been messing up the chorus for like the last half hour. I think it goes, Pippi Longstockings is coming to your town. She's a freckle-faced, red-haired girl you ought to know. Someone who's fun to be around. Oh, whoa, yeah.
Do you remember watching the movie? Like, how many times have you seen The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking?
Okay, so in the 80s, Raggedy Ann was a big thing, right? And then Pippi Longstocking comes out, you know, the redhead girl. And Annie, the 80s was full of redheads. So I watched that so many times. All you have to say is Pippi Longstockings and I immediately go into the song.
The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking was so popular that a lot of people actually went as Pippi Longstocking for Halloween. My sister included. I remember her putting pipe cleaners in her hair to make them stick out.
Yeah.
Did you dress as Pippi Longstocking ever?
No, but I remember I think I saw some costumes during Halloween. I was only like 6 when it came out, but you know, her hair does this and it stays that way. So it's like, you know, there was probably wires in it, but it's funny because I grew up with that movie. I remember it very well, but I didn't realize its popularity until I got a lot older. I guess when you're a kid, you don't really, you know, see that front and center, but it's cool that it's still a beloved movie from a lot of people.
Our plan today is pretty much roam around the island seeking out Pippi Longstocking videos and lining up shots. We got some things planned. And about this shot right here, we are first introduced to Villa Cola, the house, and Tommy and Annika are walking in front of it on their way home from school. The house has went under a whole bunch of renovations since 1988, but this is how it looks now. That gate right there, the one with the Pippi Longstocking doll on it, Tommy and Annika were standing right about there whenever the crooks pulled up to right about where Jessica is and asked,
Hey kids, do you live here?
Hello, you kids live here?
No, we live in that house over there.
The nice white one.
But here's a little piece of movie magic that you may not realize. If you pay close attention to that scene, that door right there, which is the front of the house today, was actually blocked off. It had boards across it. Most of the filming, the front of the house in the movie, all took place over here on the side of the house. And they even built a barn that once stood in this yard. It's no longer here anymore, but this is where it all took place. The chimes are a nice touch, but the side of the house that you're looking at right now, this is where all the filming took place. And you can kind of match up some of the scenes. We really can't get much closer to the house than where we are standing right now because it is a private residence. You see that porch? The wooden fence-like squares on the top of the porch there? They match exactly to when Pippi was standing there.
Here, take these. My father got them off of an old sailor who didn't need them anymore.
You can kind of see Villa Cola behind the bushes there. This empty lot, this was the side yard, well, the backyard. There was a barn, the tree house, and Tommy and Annika's house was over here on the opposite side of the yard. But at the time of filming, the house, well, this wasn't that house. We were just talking to the owners of that house right there. They built that house. At the time of filming in 1988, the house that stood there was actually pretty dilapidated and falling down. So, movie magic. Just imagine Pippi Longstocking up there on the roof looking out for a storm.
What are you doing up there? Looking out for a storm.
Even more movie magic, only the exteriors of the new Adventures of Pippi Longstocking were filmed here. All the interior scenes of this house were filmed on a soundstage in Jacksonville. Hey Jessica, another tidbit of information trivia about the movie. There's a scene where Pippi Longstocking is escorting, well, kindly escorting one of the crooks outside the house with a piece of pirate gold. And if you look very closely in the background, you can see part of the soundstage.
Long story, but I can tell you this much.
This is the road right here that Pippi, Annika, and Tommy ride in on into town. Pippi's riding Alfonso the horse, and Tommy and Annika are on the motorcycle and sidecar.
Watch out, world, 'cause here she comes, and she's bound to tease.
In the shot, you can see that building and that roof line as the camera follows them behind these trees down the road and stops right in front of this place. And you can tell it's this house by using the border along the roof as a point of reference. During the movie it was painted differently, but that's how it looks today. But this is the house. In the movie, the orphanage is right across the street from this scene, and in real life, the orphanage is here. It looks a lot different than it did back in the 80s. A lot of renovation, but let's see what shots we can line up.
Get them in the bus. Get in there. In the bus. Get in the bus. Get in the bus. Get in the bus.
All right, this is as close as we're going to get to that scene. A lot has changed. But let's see what we can do. Most of the change to the building seems to be over here towards the front. But if you come around back, that woodwork on the steps, that's almost identical. But even more so, back here is a church. And see those windows? You can see those pretty prominently in a scene towards the end of the movie when this building is on fire. But over here towards the back of the building was a telephone pole that was set up during the time of filming, and Pippi climbed it to rescue the kids. And you can see those church windows in the background. Aside from the banisters and the church, really can't line up anything else. Arriving in town, Pippi and the kids come right across this intersection, riding Alfonso, singing the song.
Your life into a world.
Pippi, Tommy, and Annika pull into town, and they stop right on the other side of this wall, right there in that crosswalk. And we can tell it's this crosswalk and this wall because of this building right there, that green one with that roof. It's unmistakable.
And it's the horse, my man. What are we going to buy today, Pippi?
Walking right across the sidewalk, Tommy asks Pippi, what are we going to buy today? And she says, a grand piano. At the time, this building was a hardware store. Today, it's an ice cream store, which is actually kind of fitting.
Fernandina's Fantastic Fudge, but they serve ice cream.
And at the same exact time, a school bus filled with orphans pulls up to the side of that building. And I do want to point out that that lamppost is almost identical to the one that was here in the movie.
Everybody out.
The orphans end up lining up in front of that building right there to get their hair cut. At the time, it was a barber shop.
What's going on over there? Children's home kids come for their haircut and teeth pulling.
Now, Pippi and the kids want to give the orphans something special, so they go to an ice cream truck that's parked on the side of the building. Now keep in mind, the orphans are lining up right there to go inside that building for the haircuts. And in the scene, if you look over here, let me zoom in, this store, with that tile work that's right there, all of it can still be seen. Even the door is exactly the same. The only thing missing are the barber poles.
She's creating havoc. There's this girl. She went up there.
But if you look closely, you can see right where the barber poles were. So with our grim powers of lining up shots, that means right here in the middle of the street where Jessica is eating an ice cream cone is where they had the ice cream food fight. What flavor did you get, Jessica?
Moose tracks.
Moose tracks? Wait, what exactly is moose tracks?
Brownie.
Fair enough. And we can tell that the ice cream food fight scene happened here by lining up the shot using these two buildings. There's a shot of the ice cream man scooping out ice cream from a barrel, and in this shot you can see those three archways and that white awning of the building next to it. But all fun must come to an end. In this scene, Pippi, Annika, and Tommy are riding their motorcycle right down this street, and you can see that building in the background. They go up a ramp and they go flying through the air.
Tommy, Annika, hold on! You come down here right this minute! Stay up!
They fly through the air and land on the other side of the intersection and drive off down that road. When they land right in front of these window arches where there's no windows. So I feel like I should also point this out, then when they land, Pippi, Tommy, and Annika land right in front of this storefront, which is now called the Villa Cola Toys. Don't believe me? There it is, your neighborhood toy store, Villa Cola. It's a toy store, but they don't have much that is Pippi Longstocking, but they do have this Pippi Longstocking doll. That's cool. Surprisingly, there's really nothing to buy here when it comes to Pippi Longstocking memorabilia. But I will tell you this though, it has a whole bunch of nostalgia. I like it. Often whenever we go on adventures like this, Jessica is always finding some sort of critter or creature that catches her eye. What did you find right now, Jessica?
Bumblebee.
Is it alive? Is it dead?
No, it stung somebody. It didn't have a stinger. It
Uh-oh.
died afterwards.
Are you gonna keep it?
No. Yes.
Be careful. Hey baby. I love you. And you look beautiful with your new hair. Now this location was a little difficult to find. To be honest, we kind of stumbled upon it. I had the wrong address, but that's okay. Two scenes from New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking happened here. One, the main scene we're going to be talking about, happened over here on the wing where Pippi was sitting in a tree and watching Annika and Tommy learn their lessons. Well, school lessons. And one long panning shot that starts over here by the front doors, looking at Alfonso the horse, and then following this railing, Pippi is sitting on a large tree branch over here where Jessica is standing, looking inside an open classroom window. Now obviously there's no trees over there, but where Jessica is standing, believe it or not, is a little divot in the ground, a little indentation, which has to be where a tree was.
Tommy, Pippi, how can I teach arithmetic with you sitting there? Please, come inside. I'm just curious. I've never been to school before.
Now the other scene that happened here is whenever Pippi and the kids decide to run away.
They can't take you, Pippi. We're going to run away. Please come with us. Yeah, come with us.
And that brings us to the end of the movie, down here by the wharf or the pier. And I could be mistaken, but I think that this creepy pirate statue can be seen in the movie at some point. I don't remember, but it looks oddly familiar. And, well, let's just face it, it looks odd. It's cool. I'd want it. Shall I say it? I wish we had something like this in our house. at the end of Main Street is the pier, or I guess you'd call it the boatyard, where Pippi and her dad were getting ready to sail away, finally reunited. And all the townsfolk gathered right here and waved goodbye. Well, everybody except for Tommy and Annika. They were sad, and Pippi saw it. Now they say whenever you find your way, you should always pick the highest point. And if we zoom in to right about here, you can see the top of City Hall and these windows of this building in the background of one of the shots. Realizing that she doesn't want to leave her two friends, she jumps off the boat with her horse Alfonso into the water, and they swim back to shore. One of the very last shots of New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking happens right here when Pippi, Annika, and Tommy are riding Alfonso up the beach right in front of this building, which is called Katie's Lighthouse. That's what it looks like today. Talk about nostalgic, right? If you haven't seen the movie New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking 1988, you have to. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you have. This was cool.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.